Hey, what's up everybody? This is Nightwing2303 from Nightwing2303.com. Today we have another performance review, and it is on the Jordan Flyweight 2 EV. This is Dwyane Wade's playoff edition for his second signature sneaker with Jordan Brand. And without wasting too much of your time, let's go ahead and get right into it. Alright guys, so I'm going to try to go over everything as quickly as possible just because this has pretty much been covered before for the most part with the Flyweight 2. So starting off with the traction here, it's the same exact traction pattern. It's solid rubber, and I think that this traction pattern works perfectly fine. It's not perfect by any means, but once it's broken in, it definitely works. It's great for slashers, fast-moving players, quick stops, and all of that stuff. It keeps your foot planted perfectly well on the floor, which is great. As I mentioned with my Flyweight 2 review, the portions that have the smaller shape designs, I feel that works a lot better. One thing that I would have liked to have seen implemented into this version, since it's supposed to be like the EV or Evolution, not sure if that's what that means, but that's what I'm assuming. I would have liked to have seen this carried over to this side as well, just to give you just that much more grip. But overall, I think it works perfectly fine, and this is going to be suitable for most players. As far as the cushion goes, it's the same exact thing as the Flyweight 2. It's full-length Lunarlon. This is a internal midsole. They call it a double last. Some of the midsole is outside like this, but for the most part everything is internal. If you look in between the sleeve and the material there, you'll see the midsole inside of the shoe. So as far as cushion is concerned, I absolutely love this setup. I love Lunarlon. I think it feels awesome. It's pretty responsive for a foam, and it's also pretty squishy at the same time, so you get enough impact protection for a guard, and maybe even forwards. Centers might want a little bit more cushion, but I'm not. That's pretty much a personal preference for most players, and that's pretty much it. Basically, when I first put these on, they felt a little bit more like soft than the initial Flyweight 2, and I'm pretty sure that they didn't change anything with the Lunarlon itself. I'm pretty sure what they did was it just came from the insole itself. The insole that was featured in this version is a lot fluffier. It's a white Ortholite, and I showed that on my website with the first impression on these guys here, as well as a comparison between the two shoes. But the one that came with the Flyweight 2 was a standard blue Ortholite, which was a little bit more dense, so that one really molded to your foot with your playing time, whereas this one didn't quite do that. It just kind of remained fluffy. It's kind of a weird way to explain it, but that's the best way for me to let you guys know. This one's insole is just a little bit fluffier than the last one, which was a little bit more dense. So that step-in comfort in this one feels a little bit better, but I'm going to tell you that it's pretty much the same exact thing, so it's not going to really give you any more cushion than the previous version. So as far as material and fit, this was pretty much the two areas in which were changed. There's one additional, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So the materials on the Flyweight 2 are basically a fuse upper, so all the way over. Just in case you might have missed the previous review, you can also see that in my channel if you just go back a little bit. And this is a fuse base upper, whereas this is a combination between fuse and flywire. The material that they used is a lot thinner and a lot more flexible. So this is great for break-in time. Pretty much no break-in time is necessary with the materials themselves, just mostly with the traction. And it pretty much performed exactly the same as this one. It's fairly durable. There's some scuffs and things like that, which is going to be normal on a shoe that you actually play in. But overall, I think that it's pretty decent. The one thing is the fit itself. The fit was just widened out just a little bit here in the toe. So some players had a big issue with the very narrow forefoot on the Flyweight 2. So some of you guys that might have had issues with that, you'll want to try these on if you wanted to try a Flyweight, and just see if it works, because this one is just a little bit more spacious. the material is a little bit more forgiving, so when you put your foot in there, it'll kind of contour around the shape of your foot much better than the fuse that they use on this pair here. So other than that, the lockdown was great. I had absolutely no issue. Midfoot lockdown was perfect. You have your heel notches in the back here, and that cups your Achilles area, so you don't have a lot of that heel slip. And once you tie up your laces all the way up here to the top, it pretty much cups everything perfectly, and you get a really great fit out of the shoe itself. So most of these aspects are in this shoe here, but like I was saying, the forefoot fit was a little bit different and might accommodate a little bit more of a wider range of foot shapes. So ventilation was the last area that was changed between the two shoes, and in my opinion it's a definite downgrade, especially if you're one of those players that prefers to have a lot of ventilation. Me personally, as long as the fit is secure, it doesn't really matter too much if there's a lot of ventilation, but I do know that some people do like to have it in their shoes. So basically the Flyway 2 had perforations along the side panel, the forefoot, the medial side panel, and then it had a very thin, very airy tongue, so which did rip quite a bit. And for those of you wondering, I don't know if this one's any stronger. It's a little bit thicker as far as the material goes, but I'm pretty sure that most of these guys were having rips right down here in these areas, and this one kind of is shaped differently, so you might not have that issue with this guy here. But anyways, back to the ventilation. You do have perforations in the forefoot, which is nice, and then you have three, I think they're like diamond shaped cutouts along the panels here of the Flywire on both sides, and then you have a slightly thicker tongue. The tongue, you still get plenty of ventilation through it. Even though it's a little bit thicker, it's still very, it offers a lot of airflow, so there's not really a problem there. Forefoot is decent. It's these side panels though that they don't offer any ventilation whatsoever. I took an air can to them and I put it on the inside and tried to blow air out of here. No air was able to come out whatsoever. This is going to be something that you're probably not going to be able to see, but the mesh liner that's inside that is what you'll like feel on the outside here of the shape. I don't know really how it works. I know that all of this stuff is heat pressed to be made, so everything's like laid out on the table and then they press it down with heat and a lot of pressure. During that process, I'm assuming that either the mesh is fusing itself together, so it's closing up the little air holes, or maybe there's some kind of glue or plastic or whatever that's melted in between the holes that's there, so you're not getting any airflow whatsoever. So ventilation, in my opinion, was a definite downgrade, but the fit itself definitely keeps your foot secure, so those of you that don't mind having limited airflow, you're not going to mind that whatsoever in this particular model here. However, if you do prefer to have a lot of ventilation, this shoe was one of the most well ventilated shoes I've played in, besides a Hyperfuse or a Sprintweb type of shoe with Adidas. So the support, again, this is something that wasn't really changed between the two models. You have your Achilles notches right here, keeps the heel in place. Your fit is very, very nice from the midfoot on up to the ankle collar, and then you have the TPU frame that extends up the lateral side down the bottom, and then a little bit of a mold right there for the arch. So this panel here on the lateral side, it kind of breaks some of that movement that you might have on this side here, whereas it's very open on this side, so you get full range of motion. Pretty similar to a Sprintweb, or not a Sprintweb, a Sprint frame, sorry about that. And I thought that it worked out perfectly fine. I had no issues with the support in the last version, and seeing how it's the same here, again, I have absolutely no issue with it. Alright guys, so that pretty much takes care of the review on the Jordan Flyway 2 EV. Overall, this is a very similar sneaker. Basically from the ground up, there's just a few differences, ventilation being one of them, which in my opinion was a downside, not quite an upgrade. And one thing that was kind of nice is that the toe box is a little bit more forgiving for people with maybe a wider forefoot. So the material is a lot more flexible. and the forefoot's a little bit more spacious, not much, but just a little bit. So anyone that's asking should they go up half a size in these, it's probably not the best idea. This is a very specific type of fit for specific foot shapes. So if you go half a size up, the arch inside, because this houses an internal midsole, so it's what they call like a double last, and the arch inside of there is very pronounced. So when they fit you perfectly, by getting your correct size, everything's properly in place. If you go up half a size, you're going to have that arch in a totally different area of your foot than what was intended. So it's going to feel pretty uncomfortable for most people if you end up going up half a size for something like this, because everything's not going to be where it should be. So hopefully that makes sense. And if I was going to recommend one or the other, like I said, I personally prefer the Flyweight 2 over this version, just based off of fit and the ventilation. It works for me a little bit better. Plus you can get the Flyweight 2 for a little bit less. However, because this one fits a little bit more of a wider range of foot shapes in the forefoot, this will be a better option for a lot of other people that might not have a narrow foot. So that's pretty much everything. If you guys want to check out more content on performance, a lot of you guys ask me questions, what's coming up, things like that. Everything is on my site, nightwing2303.com. There's tons of new stuff up there all the time, and I do my best to keep it updated as often as possible. So that's also the best place to get in touch with me as well. I don't always have computer access, so it's not easy for me to answer everybody's comments anymore on the videos themselves, but I can always access through my phone, my website, so I can always answer your comments and questions on there. So thank you guys again. Thanks for all your support. Greatly appreciate it. And until next time, guys, have a good one.